In this video you'll learn how to use Radiance in connection with Ecotect for doing more detailed analysis of light levels within your building. Ecotect is really using an overcast sky and is only looking at geometry and a specific year, whereas we can use Radiance for looking at different sonic streams we might need to examine to avoid glare and discomfort within the space. I have now opened the Ecotect environment and I want to show how we can effectively use Radiance to examine other sky conditions than the CE overcast sky used in Ecotect, and go into different sonic streams to examine if we have discomfort or glare within the building or room. We can export a room or a camera view from larger models, but I just made this simple model here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to do a lightning simulation in Ecotect very fast. Just go through this here. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm going to the analysis grid data and I'm choosing the scale that I want to save out this grid in, because in here in grid management you'll see that you can only store 5 different data sets for any simulation. So what I want to do is I want to save out this analysis grid data as a model analysis data, and I want to save it out as GRD as Ecotect here. Okay, so now I can at any time just drag this grid data in here and it will reset my grid with that data. So let's go into visualize. Here I just made a camera view for the interior space, and I made this table here to visualize on the work plane inside this room. So I can turn on my analysis grid. I go back to the 3D editor. What I want to do now is that I do have kind of a sense of the overall daylight factor and illuminance. Now we can go up to calculate, saying lightning analysis, say export to Radiance for more detailed analysis. And what Radiance really does is that it using the Ecotect model to do a daylight visualization, and in the same time we'll bring back the data from Radiance to visualize it on our grid inside Ecotect and have some more valid result in the later process. And Radiance is also pretty cool when we have some more complex geometry to better understand the model. So let's just say okay, and let's go back here in this guide just to show you how this is working. So we want to calculate over the analysis grid. We want to have now go into a sonic stream during the summer to say, okay, what happens in the summer when we have a lot of sun? Don't we have some more risk to have some glare, stuff like that, have some discomfort within the space? So I'm choosing a specific period, 2 o'clock the 21st of August, going to next, say interior views, choosing the camera view that I set up in the model, and then you can choose different levels of detailing here. I'm just choosing medium to start out, and then you can go to high when you're doing the final render. So here try to make really for the output really a simple, no commas, no nothing, just really a simple line here, so you're able to get all the output data and pull it in back into Ecotect or Radiance when you need it again. Say next, and just go through this here to say, okay, we want to do this in final render. You can open it in the control panel as well, but the final render is what we're looking for when we want to export the grid data back to Ecotect. So let's click here, generate point data on current 2D analysis grid, great, and important check material rad files. Here the sky definition, indirect reflections, stuff like that. To set that up will mean that we get a more correct image. And let's look at the lux values because it's much more qualitative to look at, and just say okay, the daylight simulation in Radiance has now ended, and I'm able to actually pretty cool go about putting in numeric values on my desk and qualitative places. And as you'll see here, we have a kind of dangerous risk for glare on these places here on this specific time. And what we can do now is we can overlay contour lines, just another kind of visualization which helps us to determine where there would be risk of glare and discomfort inside the zone. And we can also go to what's called human sensitivity, which helps us understand how this room will look like for a person. So when we close this down, we can now choose where to put the results on our grid. You remember there were 5 places. We're just gonna put it instead of daylight factor. We're gonna just pull it in with this name and say okay, import, and we're gonna go here, and now you'll see that the scale has updated. Let's set this to 250 to 2500 lux here, and we now have a more accurate simulation of the daylight levels, and we can do this for different sonic streams and then send it out as model analysis data as a GFD file to do some different analog comparisons and analysis of the different design proposals that we built out.